Welcome back to Marketing Champions. I'm your host, David Benfield. On the show, we talk to marketing experts to help you along the way for your career. And joining us today, all the way from San Francisco, California, is Ken Hall with Here Be Dragons. Ken, how are you doing today?
Doing good, thanks.
So, Here Be Dragons, what does your company specialize in?
So we're a branding advertising agency, and I think that's a pretty broad term. So we specialize in storytelling primarily. I think that there's a lot of integrated agencies that do performance marketing well, and a lot of just marketing in general. But I think our strong suit is really brand storytelling, whether it's video or digital experience. It really comes down to storytelling for us.
Give me an example of marketing by storytelling.
So I think that one example is, without going into specific campaigns, I think that developing a relationship with consumers through a related experience, whether it's an integrated experience, right? So it's multiple touch points that kind of develop the story of a brand that someone can relate to on different levels. So those come with, it might be a social experience, might be digital experience, it could be video components. But as part of a campaign, we start to develop relationships with the consumers, so they can really start to get a deeper level of experience of a brand through the story of, it might be something that's more relatable to someone. It's hard to go into without a specific brand example, but I'm hesitant to do that.
No worries, it's fine. So talk about some of the challenges with trying to market through narratives, through storytelling.
I think it's gotten easier in the last decade, and I think it's gotten harder in the last decade. I think there's a lot of there's a tendency to use the tools that we have available to us, which is great because they're fantastic with things like performance marketing tools, and a lot of being able to utilize data and optimize and things like that. Even with content, being able to optimize and being able to use data to make things perform better. But I think as a result of that, it's made storytelling a little bit harder because those things aren't necessarily the things that are always going to work immediately. I think that brand storytelling takes time, and it takes a little bit more elegance rather than
more
just
nuance.
A little bit more nuance rather than just kind of the blunt force. So I think a blunt force of just kind of performance data. So I think what we'll see in the next few years is kind of a renaissance of that. After the new tools are, again, fantastic, but I think there's this other layer that's kind of starting to get overlooked a little bit more than it has in previous years because of the new tools in our toolbox.
So why storytelling, right? So did you see something where you were like, nobody's doing this, and you fulfilled a need, or like how did that come about? And like, why did you decide to do this so much differently than others?
I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily different. I think that storytelling, because the truth is people don't really care. People don't want to hear about your brand. I mean, people aren't out. They don't wake up and look at their phone or something and go, oh, I hope I hear from such and such brand today.
Right.
Or look for a billboard, or they don't look for these things. And we're also inundated with, I think it's 12 hours a day of content and media coming at us. So it's this kind of competition for eyeballs. And I think with that in mind, storytelling adds this other layer that gets it to a relatable place, because brands aren't at a place where they can start to just in the 80s, brands would just talk about themselves and people would, I guess, listen a little bit more.
I don't think they had a choice. It was like, the only place they had was like network television, and it was in between your shows, so it was like tough.
Right. So, but brands have had to adapt, and now they're joining other conversations that people are already a part of. So they're joining cause conversations. They're joining conversations about even political things or personalized stories about people. So that's why you see brands, tell stories about people that you might be able to relate to, or situations that you might be able to relate to. And it's the storytelling that brings it to a place where it helps us care. It's like, I may not care about your dog food brand, but I care about dogs. And if you tell me this sweet story about this relationship, of this personal specific relationship that's true, then it kind of brings me into it and brings me into your brand in a way that's less intrusive,
Yeah, I do.
So.
Thank you very much, Ken. I really appreciate it. That's very insightful. So that's going to unfortunately do it for us today. So if you would like to know more about Here Be Dragons, head to dailyadbrief.com. That's going to do it for Marketing Champions. I'm your host, David Benfield, and we will catch you next time.